of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC-012 titled Strategic Management for MBA Program. Presenting Block 4 titled Strategy Implementation and Control, Unit 10 Implementation Behavioral Dimensions, Part 1.
Objectives. After reading this unit, you should be able to understand the concept of strategic change, explain the role of leadership in strategic management, discuss the concept of leadership, acquaint yourself with various functions of leaders, understand different leadership styles, and understand the importance of ethics and values. Introduction. Successful execution or implementation of strategy depends on the appropriateness of the internal organization, which to a large extent is reflected in the structure. Structure represents the network of relationships within an organization over a very long period of time. The matching of structure to strategy is important as there are alternative forms of structural designs which an organization can use. A certain organizational form may be more suitable for dealing with certain situations than others. For instance, a functional centralized form may be more suitable for a specially manufacturing organization but unsuitable for an organization operating in a highly complex environment. Once a structure is established or gets established, it is not easy to change it, for it reflects the philosophy, prejudices, and ambitions of management or owners, and changing it may be perceived by them as threatening. This defines the behavioral dimensions of the implementation aspect too. In the behavioral dimensions, leadership plays an important role. Leadership means to guide or to influence into an action. In today's highly competitive world, it becomes important for organizations to have a good leader. We know instinctively that in every human activity involving a group of people, there is a need for the guiding hand of a leader. The head of a family is the most ubiquitous leader since the dawn of human history. It is well accepted that on the quality and effectiveness of this leader, be it father or the mother, depends on the progress and fortunes of the family. In the modern complex society, thousands of individuals are appointed or elected to shoulder roles and responsibilities of leadership in junior, middle, and senior levels in factories and farms, schools and colleges, business and financial institutions, dispensaries and hospitals, in civil and military organs of the state, scientific and research institutions, and so on. In this unit, we present a holistic and practical approach to leadership as the behavioral dimension and how it helps in the successful implementation of the strategy. Now let us study about the strategic change. It is important for the organization to find out the extent to which the change can be implemented. Each organization has an independent working style. Therefore, the strategies formulated for these organizations are also different. There can be different levels of strategic change depending on the nature of strategy. While implementing a strategy, the whole process involves a number of people, tasks, business units, and products to move from a stable strategy to organizational redirection. This is not an easy job, as moving to organizational redirection means that organization is entering an entirely new industry. This requires a lot of efforts and implementation process is quite complex. Therefore, it becomes important for management to adapt to the changing times and manage the strategic change. Now, matching organization structure to strategy. What it means. An important question before the top management in an organization is how to match the structure to the needs of the strategy. An organization, depending upon its size and objectives, may be pursuing several strategies simultaneously. There are no hard and fast rules to determine what kind of structure would be useful for which type of strategy. Each organization has its own history behind it, and its managers have their own value systems and philosophies. The structure, therefore, is a result of these and several other variables. Moreover, each strategy rests on a set of key success factors or critical tasks. It is therefore desirable to design the organizational structure around the key success factors or critical tasks which are implied in the organization's strategy. This requires not only complete clarity on the key success factors or critical tasks, but also requires making the units connected with the critical task or functions, the main organizational building blocks. Further, the top management has to determine the degree of authority that has to be delegated to each unit, bearing in mind the benefits and costs of centralization versus decentralization. It has to decide how the coordination among different units of the organization would be brought about. We shall now discuss these three aspects briefly. Strategy critical activities. From the point of view of strategies, there are some activities which are critical to the success of those strategies, while a large number of activities are of routine nature. The routine activities may be either maintenance or support type of activities. Example, handling payrolls, accounting, complying with regulations, managing cash flows, controlling inventories and safekeeping of stores, training of manpower, public relations, market research, etc. However, there are some critical tasks and functions which must be done exceedingly well for the strategy to be successful. For example, tight cost control is essential for an organization pursuing the strategy of low-cost leadership. This is particularly true if the margins are low and price cutting is widely used as a competitive weapon. For an organization which has chalked out differentiation as its strategy, distinctiveness or sophistication in the design of its product is necessary. This needs emphasis on quality and excellence in workmanship. Thus, the activities that are critical to the strategy and competitive requirements may differ from organization to organization. Two alternatives questions should help to identify strategy. Critical activities. First, what functions have to be performed exceedingly well for the strategy to succeed? Or, what are the areas where less than satisfactory performance would seriously endanger the success of strategy? After the critical tasks or functions for a particular strategy have been identified, the next step is to group the various critical activities along with routine and support activities associated with the critical activities into organizational units or blocks. This would require a close look into the relationships that prevail within the organization. The flow of material through the production process, types of customers served, distribution channels used, sequence of operations to be performed, geographic locations are some of the bases for scrutinizing the relationships. Degree of authority or decentralization. After the grouping of activities has been done and units have been constituted, the next question to tackle with is the degree of decision-making authority that has to be delegated in the various units. Where the organization is engaged in several businesses, two alternative approaches can be followed. One is to centralize the strategic decision-making authority to the corporate level and delegate only operating decisions to the unit managers. The other is to substantially decentralize the strategic decisions to the unit managers, with the corporate staff providing necessary support to them. The corporate office in the latter case may limit its role to certain kind of strategic decisions only. What should be the degree of authority given to the unit managers or how much autonomy should be given to them is essentially a question of managerial judgment and would depend upon a number of factors. The merits and demerits of decentralization in each situation must be properly weighed after taking into consideration the principal decision the business unit managers make and how the corporate management perceived the importance of the various units in the overall strategy of the organization. Providing for coordination. Coordination among several units of the organization can be accomplished in several ways. The principal way is to position the various activities in the vertical hierarchy of authority. Managers higher up in the hierarchy generally have broader authority over several organizational units, and this enables them to have more power to coordinate, integrate, or arrange for the coordination of the units under their supervision. As far as business units are concerned, general managers are the central points in coordination because of their position of authority over the whole unit. Apart from positioning organizational units along vertical scale of managerial authority, a general manager can also achieve coordination of strategic efforts through informal meetings, special task forces, standing committees, and 6 monthly or quarterly strategic planning, budgeting, and review meetings. Further, while formulating the strategic plan itself, a general manager can solicit the cooperation or association of other general managers in the planning process, and thus would provide for inbuilt coordination bridges right from the very beginning. Leadership. Some researchers have shown that if the executives have good leadership qualities, the productivity of the nation can increase to a large extent without additional finance or new technology. It is important to note that the theoretical approach of leadership taught in classroom is less effective than the practical approach. The only way is to find a method of improving the leadership potential of those already shouldering responsibilities and of those who are getting ready to enter the field of leadership in any walk of life. This is a basic philosophy of the practical and holistic approach to leadership. It is perfectly possible to improve myself. I can hope to improve others. Only by personal example is its message. Consequently, the key to effective strategic management is to ensure that leadership runs like a uniform thread through all functions of management to integrate them into a culture of excellence. One of the primary needs for effective strategic management is to understand in practical terms the meaning of leadership, its functions, and finally to ensure that effective leaders are groomed and developed at every level in an organization. Only then will strategic managers be able to conceive strategic plans and translate these plans into reality. Now let us know the concept of leadership. However, when it comes to evolving a definition or a theory of leadership, we run into difficulties. If we know too much about our leaders, we know far too little about leadership. Is it essentially inspiration? Is the leader a definer of values? How do leaders lead followers without being wholly led by followers? Leadership is one of the most observed and least understood phenomena on earth. However, despite Maslow's perspective diagnosis, an integrated view on this vital and age-old function in human society has not yet crystallized. Commenting on group dynamics laboratories, Maslow's 1965 observed, "What I smell here is again some of the democratic dogma and pity, in which all people are equal and in which the conception of a factually strong person or natural leader or dominant person or superior intellect or superior decisiveness or whatever is bypassed because it makes everybody uncomfortable and because it seems to contradict the democratic philosophy. Of course, it does not really contradict it." Maslow made the above remarks as he was fully aware that there were serious reservations among intellectuals and scholars to the very concept of leadership. Potential for leadership has no relation to parental stations in society. Many of the outstanding leaders in history had a non-affluent background. The fact that the literature on leadership has a number of definitions of the word indicates that it is a complex process. However, it is essential nature in the ability to get the best out of people. The definition, which has the touch of practical common sense, is the one evolved by a medical Dr. Lord Moran. He was the medical officer of a British infantry battalion during World War I. For 2 long years he served the battalion in France and saw how young officers inspired their fellow citizens to fight the Germans and enthusiasm and courage, knowing well that many among them would get killed or maimed. He wondered how one individual could exercise such a decisive influence over others. It was not just the military law or discipline, because despite these, there were examples of demeaning cowardice or inability to lead. About 2 decades later, he rose to become the chairman of the British Medical Council, and later, during World War II, he was the personal physician to Sir Winston Churchill, the wartime Prime Minister of Great Britain. In that unique capacity, he had a ringside seat to observe the top leaders of the world in every human activity, politics, industry, military, labor, and so on. Given below is a definition which is based on what he evolved. Leadership is the capacity to frame plans which will succeed and the faculty to persuade others to carry them out in the face of all difficulties. Moran, 1984. The definition has 2 parts. The first deals with the capacity to frame plans, programs, projects, or whatever that have a high probability of success. This implies that a plan should reflect a leader's grasp and feel of the quality of her resources and the environments in which the plan has to be implemented. The second part of the definition deals with the implementation of the plan by persuading others to do what is really expected of them, despite difficulties, discouragement, and obstacles. Leadership deals with the top line, what thing I want to accomplish. In the word of both Peter Drucker and Warren Dennis, management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. Management is efficiency in climbing the ladder of success. Leadership determines whether the ladder is leaning against the right wall. Let us now look at the functions of leadership. In practical terms, a leader has to achieve the task, mission, objective, or goals. For doing so, he or she has to build his or her team as a cohesive group and develop every individual in the team to give his or her very best. Consequently, he or she has to harmonize and integrate the needs related to the accomplishment of the task with those of the group he leads and individuals in the group. Functions for needs of the task: defining the task, making the plan, allocating work and resources, controlling quality and tempo of work, checking performance against plan. Functions for needs of the individuals: attending to personal problems, praising of individuals, knowing individuals personally, recognizing and using individual abilities, training individuals. Now, functions of needs of the groups: setting standards, maintaining discipline, building team spirit, encouraging, motivating, giving a sense of purpose, appointing sub-leaders, ensuring communication within the group, and training the group. Now, the functions related to the needs of the 3 areas have been listed separately for easy understanding. In actual practice, however, most of these are integrated in the following steps. First, planning to achieve the task by using the available resources and people, initiating work by allocating tasks and resources, controlling by monitoring the work, modifying plan, supporting by encouragement and by motivating and training, and the last, evaluating.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code MMPC-012, titled Strategic Management. Course coordinator Professor Neeti Agrawal. Voiceover by Chitra Gaur. Edited by Ashok Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jaha. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.